Slang Through the Ages, a Historical Perspective. Chapter 1. What's that you just said? The Origins of Slang, a Love Story. In the grand tapestry of language, slang is the cheeky cousin that shows up to a family gathering wearing mismatched socks and telling inappropriate jokes. Its origins are as varied and unpredictable as a toddler's art project bursting forth from the messy chaos of everyday life. Imagine a time ages ago when people were stumbling over their words like a toddler learning to walk. The need for brevity and flair gave birth to slang, a vibrant collection of terms that allowed people to express themselves in ways that were sometimes more colorful than a box of crayons. It was love at first utterance as these new playful terms began to spread like wildfire, revolutionizing communication and making the stuffy old dictionary feel like a relic from a bygone era. As societies evolved, so did slang, morphing and adapting like a chameleon at a party. The Renaissance was like the ultimate slang mixer, where poets, playwrights, and commoners mingled and exchanged their favorite phrases. Shakespeare himself was a notorious slang aficionado, sprinkling his works with words that made the serious folks clutch their pearls. In the streets of London, the word swagger found its way into the lexicon, and poets began using it to describe not just a walk, but an attitude. Every generation added its own flavor, from the jazzy beats of the 1920s to the hip-hop rhythms of the 1980s, proving that slang is the ultimate love story between generations, each one trying to outdo the last with more inventive lingo. But hold your horses, because this love story isn't all rainbows and butterflies. Gender differences in slang are like a romantic comedy where the leads just can't seem to get on the same page. Men and women have their own unique slang repertoires, often leading to a comedic game of charades when they try to communicate. Women might be using "Yas, Queen" to express excitement, while men could be throwing around "lit" like it's confetti. This linguistic divergence is not just a matter of preference, it's a cultural phenomenon that highlights how language can reflect societal roles and norms. One can only imagine the awkward conversations that have taken place over the years, with one party using slang like a secret code that the other simply can't decode. As slang evolved, it began to take on a life of its own, like a character in a soap opera with a penchant for drama. The rise of technology brought with it a new wave of slang that often left older generations scratching their heads in confusion. Texting and social media became the new playgrounds for slang, leading to terms that sounded more like secret agent codes than actual words. FOMO and YOLO became the rallying cries of a generation, while the older folks were still trying to figure out what Netflix and chill really meant. But that makes me think of acronyms like RSVP and others. That actually has French origins. Everybody wants to be able to communicate more succinctly, with brevity and to the point, with less effort and more communication. This intersection of technology and slang is a testament to how love and language continues to adapt, evolve, and sometimes leave people in the dust. In the end, the origins of slang are truly a love story for the ages, filled with twists, turns, and the occasional eye roll. It's a reminder that language is not static. It's a living, breathing entity that thrives on creativity and the need for connection. Slang allows us to break down barriers, share laughter, and sometimes even baffle our elders just for fun. And not only elders, but just those that are outside of our clique. We want to be able to communicate without others that we don't want to know what we're talking about, knowing what we're talking about. It's a reminder that language is not static. It's a living, breathing entity that thrives on creativity and the need for connection. Slang allows us to break down barriers, share laughter, and sometimes even baffle our elders just for fun. As we continue to navigate this ever-changing linguistic landscape, we can embrace the quirky and unexpected and the downright hilarious ways we express ourselves. After all, in the world of slang, there's always room for a little more love and a lot more laughter, especially when we're laughing at others that we don't see as seeing life and things the same way that we do. From Shakespeare to TikTok, the journey begins. From Shakespeare to TikTok, the evolution of slang has taken us on a wild ride through the ages. Much like a roller coaster with unexpected drops and loop-de-loops, imagine the bard himself, quill in hand, crafting phrases that would baffle even the most seasoned modern-day social media influencer. "Thou art a knave," he might exclaim, while today's youth would simply roll their eyes and respond with a crisp, "Bro, chill." It's a linguistic journey that reveals how language morphs over time, often leaving us wondering if we're speaking the same tongue or if we've accidentally entered a parallel universe where lit means something completely different. In Shakespeare's time, slang was the secret code of the streets, a way for the cool kids to differentiate themselves from the stuffy aristocrats. It's kind of the same as it is now, I do believe. Words like zany and gloomy were all the rage, giving rise to a new lexicon that Phil managed to tickle our funny bone today. Fast forward to the 21st century, and slang has become a chameleon, changing color faster than a TikTok video can go viral. With every new generation, we find ourselves in a lexical arms race as kids concoct new terms to keep their parents scratching their heads. Who knew that sick could mean awesome, or ghosting would become the ultimate form of social avoidance? But let's not forget the role of gender in this playful linguistic dance. While Shakespeare may have penned some of the most romantic lines ever written, it's hard to imagine him navigating the minefield of modern gendered slang. Words like bay and thirsty have taken on lives of their own, often diverging in meaning depending on who's using them. Men and women might use the same slang, but the context, can turn a harmless term into a potential relationship minefield. It's a wonder we can even keep up with the ever-changing rules of engagement, let alone the ever-changing words. As we dive deeper into this linguistic saga, it's clear that slang is more than just a collection of trendy phrases. It's a reflection of our cultural landscape. From the taverns of Elizabethan England to the digital realms of TikTok, slang serves as a mirror, reflecting societal changes, attitudes, and even our collective sense of humor. Each term carries with it the weight of history, often with a playful twist that helps us bond over shared experiences, even if those experiences are utterly ridiculous. So, buckle up for a whirlwind tour through time as we explore the fascinating, funny, and sometimes downright absurd world of slang. Whether you're a Shakespeare aficionado or a TikTok enthusiast, there's something in this journey for everyone. After all, as we traverse the ages, we find that slang isn't just about words. It's about connection, laughter, and the delightful chaos of human communication. Why slang is like your favorite pair of sweatpants. Imagine opening your closet and reaching for that one pair of sweatpants that fits just right. They're comfortable, a little worn, and they always seem to have a way of making you feel at home. Slang is much like those beloved sweatpants. It wraps around you in familiarity, worn in by time and usage, and it can make even the most serious conversations feel a bit more relaxed. Just as you wouldn't wear a tuxedo to binge watch your favorite series, you wouldn't throw around formal language at a casual gathering. Slang is the cozy attire of communication, perfect for when you want to express yourself without the constraints of formal grammar. Words like gonna and wanna and ain't and all of those are a function of slang. Now let's talk about the evolution of slang, which is as unpredictable as the laundry cycle. As the laundry cycle? What? That's unpredictable? One day a term is born, used joyfully by a group of friends as they navigate the complexities of life. The next day it's all over social media, and before you know it, your grandma is using it to describe her new knitting project. Just like those sweatpants that seem to grow more comfortable with each wash, slang evolves, stretching and adapting to fit the times. What was once groovy has made way for lit and groove and funk and funky. So groovy went out in the 60s and became groovin', Additionally, I think of ain't nobody got time for that, which, speaking of virility and things going viral, things that people say going viral, that's one of them. Ain't nobody got time for that. So speaking formally, ain't nobody got time for that. What was once groovy has made way for lit, and as we witness this linguistic transformation, we can't help but chuckle at how quickly our language can go from being hip to utterly outdated. Gender differences in slang usage add a fun twist to the story. Picture two friends, one a guy, the other a gal, chatting about their weekend plans. The guy might casually toss in phrases that feel like they've been plucked right out of a sports commentary, while the gal, that sounds dated, while the shouty might drop some emojis and modern references that would make a millennial proud. This isn't just a matter of preference. It's like choosing between sweatpants with pockets or without. Each choice has its own merits, and when it comes to slang, the differences can be as stark as a neon color scheme versus a simple gray. Understanding these nuances can brighten up our conversation like a fresh batch of tie-dye sweatpants. Slang also carries with it a sense of belonging, much like the comfort of slipping into your favorite sweatpants after a long day, or your PJs, or just jeans, or shorts, or underwear, chonies, as they say in Mexico and Spanish-speaking vernacular. When you're with friends and start throwing around the latest slang, there's an unspoken bond that forms. It's a secret club where the password is lit and the dress code is casual. This shared language creates a safe space where everyone feels they can be themselves, just as you feel free to lounge on the couch in your coziest attire. The beauty of slang lies in its ability to create community. It's the linguistic equivalent of a potluck dinner where everyone brings their favorite dish and you leave with a full belly and a smile. In the end, just like your favorite pair of sweatpants, slang is all about comfort and connection. It may change over time, adapting to fit the needs of each generation, but its core purpose remains the same, to help us express ourselves in the most authentic way possible. So the next time you throw on those cozy pants and settle in for a night of Netflix, remember that slang is doing the same thing for language. It's there to keep us comfortable, to make us laugh, and to remind us that no matter how serious life gets, we can always find a way to communicate with a little humor and a lot of heart. Which makes me think of the abbreviation BET that Gen Z now uses, whereas we used to say, you bet. You know, are you going to be there? You bet. Are you going to be there? Bet. Or, I need a glow up for my rig. Bet. I got you. All those things. Anyway. And now for chapter 2 of this book I'm writing with the help of AI. The book is called Slang Through the Ages, A Historical Perspective. And chapter 2 is Slang as Its Abbreviation Evolves. And this is based on my prompting. What I see slang is new abbreviations of language as each generation improves upon the previous generation's slang and abbreviates and combines more elements into one word, one syllable to communicate more efficiently and effectively. Texting is certainly a prime example of that. My favorite example is the words that we boomers still use, and that is, you bet, when saying, will you? You bet. Whereas Gen Z has shortened that to simply bet. That's an example of that. So anyway, chapter 2, slang as its abbreviation evolves. The rise of acronyms, LOL, BRB, and the rest of the crew. The rest of the crew being the other texting abbreviations. LOL is laugh out loud, of course. LMFAO is laugh my effing ass off. LMFAO, or LMAO if you're a little more polite, laugh my ass off. LOL, laugh out loud. BRB is be right back. And then we have the digital age. The digital age has ushered in a cavalcade of acronyms that have invaded our text messages, social media posts, and even our everyday conversations. Remember the days when I'm laughing out loud actually meant laughing? Now, with the arrival of LOL, those precious letters have taken over, allowing us to exhibit our mirth with a mere 3 characters. It's as if someone decided that emoting was too labor intensive and that our thumbs deserved a workout instead. With a few taps, we can communicate a whole range of emotions from joy to sarcasm, all with avoiding the awkwardness of actual face-to-face laughter, which can be messy and loud. And let's not forget the classics like BRB, which stands for Be Right Back. This little gem has saved countless relationships from the brink of disaster. Imagine being in the middle of a riveting conversation about your favorite cat memes and suddenly needing to step away for a snack or a bio break, as I like to call it. Inside of leaving your chat partner hanging in a state of existential dread, you can simply pop in a BRB. It's like sending a polite RSVP to your own life, assuring others that you haven't abandoned them to join a secret society of snack enthusiasts. When I think of the Chinese zodiac, it's the year of the snake. Unfortunately, I've kind of developed that into the year of the snack, but never mind that. The brilliance of acronyms lies in their ability to smooth over social faux pas with a few well-placed letters, proving once again that brevity is the soul of wit, or at least the soul of not looking awkward. As we delve deeper into the world of acronyms, we uncover a treasure trove of quirky expressions that have sprung up like weeds in a garden of language. TMI, or too much information, serves as the perfect shield when someone overshares their latest gastrointestinal adventures. It's a polite way to say, please, for the love of all that is holy, spare me the details. This acronym is a testament to the delicate balance of human communication where we strive to connect while spontaneously setting boundaries. Who knew that a few letters could carry such weighty social implications? It's as if we've collectively agreed to use a secret code to navigate the minefield of personal sharing. Interestingly, while acronyms like LOL and BRB have become universally accepted, the landscape of slang is also shaped by gender differences. It turns out that men and women often wield acronyms differently, as if they are armed with linguistic weapons of choice. Women might sprinkle LOL into conversations like confetti, using it to foster connection and warmth. In contrast, men may prefer a more stoic approach, opting for the straightforward BRB without the added emotional flair. This divergence shows how even in the realm of abbreviations, our communication styles reflect broader social patterns and expectations, revealing the intricate tapestry of language woven by gender. The rise of acronyms has informed not only the way we communicate, but also the very fabric of language itself. In a world where speed is of the essence, and attention spans are shorter than a goldfish's memory, these bite-sized phrases have become a lifeline for the digitally inclined. They allow us to express complex emotions and ideas with a simplicity that's both liberating and amusing. So, the next time you find yourself chuckling at a clever LOL or rolling your eyes at an overly detailed confession followed by TMI, take a moment to appreciate the linguistic evolution happening right under our thumbs. Acronyms may be small, but their effect on our communication is larger than life, leaving us eagerly awaiting the next wave of abbreviated brilliance. Texting, the new age hieroglyphics. Texting can become a linguistic phenomenon that could baffle even the most seasoned linguist. It's as if our phones have transformed us into modern-day scribes, crafting messages with the same finesse as ancient Egyptians carving hieroglyphics on temple walls. Gone are the days of meticulously spelling out words. Now it's all about abbreviations and emojis, where a simple LOL can convey a multitude of emotions, from genuine laughter to the awkward chuckle that follows a bad joke. One might even wonder if future archaeologists will sift through our text, trying to decode the meaning of BRB and FYI as we analyze the Rosetta Stone. Consider the art of texting as a game of linguistic charades. A well-placed emoji can say more than 1,000 words, but only if you can decipher the cryptic images. A thumbs up can mean great job or I'm not listening but pretending to care. And let's not even get started on the infamous eggplant emoji. Yeah, and for that matter, the peach emoji as well, as they go together. Or the finger and the OK sign. So never mind that. It seems our ancestors had it easy with their straightforward symbols. They were just happy to depict a cow or a sun. Today, we're left to navigate a minefield of potential misinterpretations that could lead to social faux pas. Texting has turned communication into a high-stakes game of Pictionary, where the only prize is maintaining your social standing. The historical evolution of slang terms is rich and varied, but texting has taken it to a whole new level. Remember when rad was the go-to term for anything cool? Now we've got lit, fire, and a host of other adjectives that seem to multiply faster than rabbits. Each generation has its own flavor of slang, often derived from the latest technology trends. Texting has accelerated this evolution at warp speed. What was once a clever abbreviation can become outdated faster than you can say, OMG! The challenge lies in keeping up with the pace. One moment you're on fleek, and the next you're out of the loop, desperately trying to decipher the latest trends from your teenaged niece. Gender differences in slang usage also find their way into the texting realm. Studies suggest that women are more likely to use emojis and exclamation points, while men tend to keep it short and sweet. It's like a battle of the communication styles, where one side is throwing confetti and hearts, and the other is sending one word responses that could be mistaken for Morse code. This playful yet serious divide often leads to humorous misunderstandings where a guy thinks he's being straightforward while the girl is left pondering if K means he's upset or he's just conserving his thumbs. And let me also say, men and women both have female and masculine energies residing within them. So women can easily act like men, use their masculine energy, and men can easily act like women using their feminine energy. I mean, I'm a Virgo, which I think is somewhat of a feminine sign. It's an earth sign. You know, do I have more feminine energy than masculine? No. Virgo is also extremely practical, and I'm on the cusp of Virgo, with a birthday being September 21st, which makes me almost a Libra, which loves justice and beauty and all kinds of things. So whatever, I am who I am. It's nice to read about personality traits and see which ones resonate with me, but I take that stuff with a grain of salt. As we embrace this new age of hieroglyphics, it's essential to remember that texting isn't just about convenience. It's a cultural phenomenon that reflects our society's quirks and eccentricities. Much like ancient scribes, we've created our own lexicon that is constantly evolving while leading to hilarious miscommunications and unexpected interpretations. So the next time you're baffled by a text that reads SMH at your BFF's tea, that means shaking my head at your best friend forever's tea being gossip, just remember, we're all just trying to make sense of this brave new world of communication, one emoji at a time. Slang evolution from the roaring 20s to the emoji era. Slang is like a fine wine. It ages, evolves, and sometimes leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Picture the roaring 20s, where flappers danced the Charleston and gangsters tossed around terms like bee's knees and cat's pajamas. Back then, a giggle water wasn't a cute term for sparkling water, but rather the illicit booze that kept speakeasies buzzing. If you were jive in the 1920s, you were more than just trendy. You were the life of the party. Able to throw down some serious lingo, there's another abbreviation for language. Avoiding the fuzz, and the fuzz was the police. I'm not real sure how that happened. Let me read that sentence again. If you were jive in the 1920s, you were more than just trendy. You were the life of the party, able to throw down some serious lingo while avoiding the fuzz. Fast forward to today, and calling someone the bee's knees might earn you a confused look rather than a raucous laugh. However, bee's knees is back. If you wait long enough, everything comes back in fashion. Skinny ties to wide ties to medium ties to piano ties, now it's guitar ties, etc. As decades rolled on, slang kept evolving faster than a flapper could change her hairstyle. The post-war era brought a wave of new terms with cool cats and hipsters strutting their stuff, while the 60s and 70s saw the rise of far out and groovy. Suddenly, the youth culture was talking in a language that made parents cringe. Speaking of Gen Z slang, cringeworthy, as they tried to decipher if their kids were calling them square or far out, or cringe, or Gucci. With each new generation, slang became a rite of passage, a way for the young to differentiate themselves from their elders, because nothing says, I'm an adult, like telling your parents they're totally bogus. Then came the digital age, which opened up a whole new can of worms, or maybe a can of emojis, with the advent of texting, social media, and instant messaging. Our beloved slang took a sharp turn toward the visual. The digital age actually started in the 80s, and that was a couple of decades before the internet, or a decade and a half before the widespreadness of the internet. So I beg to differ. The digital age started well before that. Who needs a 5-paragraph explanation when a simple emoji can convey emotions better than Shakespeare? A thumbs up can replace a hearty good job, and a crying, laughing face can express what words simply cannot. A picture is worth 1,000 words. It's a linguistic revolution where LOL and BRB are now the new how do you do. But let's be real. Not only has the medium changed, but so has the audience. And let me say too, I've got a couple of videos on Old English, Revolutionary War English, and 1600s English slang, which was a whole different animal. Anyway, look that up. I'll link it to this video. Gendered slang differences have become more pronounced, with certain terms becoming emblematic of the cultures they represent. For example, while lit might have been a party term in one group, it can evoke eye rolls in another, especially among those who think lit is just something you do with candles or literature. And I'll say now there's a divergence between Gen Z slang and millennial slang and the up and coming Gen Alpha slang and the newly born current babies who are Gen Beta. The language we use often reflects our identity. And as we navigate the minefield of gendered slang, we notice that some expressions are more inclusive while others can feel a bit exclusive, while trying to crash a party where you weren't invited. As we continue to ride this ever-changing wave of slang, one thing is certain: it will keep evolving, morphing into new forms that will leave future generations scratching their heads. Imagine a time when sending vibes or low-key becomes the stuff of history books. What will our descendants think of our current favorite phrases? Will they laugh at our attempts to be woke and on fleek, or will they simply communicate through a series of intricate dance moves? Slang is a living, breathing entity, and as long as people are talking, texting, and emoting, it will never truly go out of style, no matter how many times it tries to do the Charleston. Nobody got time for that. So anyway, this whole treatise is written via my prompts I used designer.io, I think it is, or IO, designer with two R's, DESIGNRR.io. So there's the link. I'll put it in the description as well. Chapter 3 is up next. Chapter 3 of my new book that I'm working on. It's called Slang Through the Ages, A Historical Perspective, subtitled A Hysterical Perspective, because I think some of these entries are pretty freaking funny. So please refer to chapters 1 and 2 already up. I need to link them all together, which I will do as soon as possible. So this chapter has 3 subtitles, which are called Slang in the Middle Ages, The Language of Rebels, with 5 paragraphs. And the second one is the 1960s, Peace, Love, and a Whole Lot of Slang. And that also has 5 paragraphs. And I'm wondering if the reference, a whole lot of slang, is a whole lot of love, well, peace, love, and a whole lot of slang, or is it a whole lot of rosy? So it's either Led Zeppelin or AC/DC. And again, 5 paragraphs. And then the third subtitle is The Internet Age, When LOL Became a Language. And LOL is so dated. As I skim this, I see TTYL, which is talk to you later, or TTYS, which is talk to you soon. Chapter 3, The Historical Evolution of Slang Terms. Slang in the Middle Ages, the Language of Rebels. Paragraph 1. Slang in the Middle Ages was like the secret handshake of society's misfits, rebels, and those who didn't quite fit into the neatly tailored tunics of the upper crust. Imagine a time where the average Jeffrey couldn't just scroll through social media to vent about their feudal lord. Instead, they had to rely on colorful vocabulary that was as much a part of their identity as their questionable hygiene. The lords and ladies might have spoken in flowery prose, but the common folk had a lexicon that could make a jester blush. Let's talk about the rogues who populated medieval towns. These were the folks who made it their mission to turn the language of the day into a delightful stew of mischief. Words like scofflaw didn't exist yet, but if they had, it would have perfectly described the scallywags who'd swipe a loaf of bread from the baker while charming his daughter with a wink. The markets were alive with exchanges that sounded like a mix between Shakespearean insults and a barroom brawl, filled with terms that could make a monk's ears turn red. The rebellious spirit of the time was reflected in phrases that told anyone who dared listen, "I'm no peasant, I'm a free spirit with a penchant for mischief." Interestingly, gender played a role in how slang was used. While men may have had their own set of bravado-laden terms for their shenanigans, women wielded their slang like a sharp dagger, often using it to navigate a world that sought to silence them. The tavern might have been a man's domain, but listen closely and you'll hear the quick-witted barmaids tossing around phrases that would make any knight's armor rattle. Women could insult a man's honor while ordering a round of ale, proving that they were not just passive listeners in the medieval drama. They were the unsung heroines of slang. Well, of course not. Women were people too. Not only that, they're the mothers of everyone, including the armor-clad males. The beauty of medieval slang lies in its evolution. As the years rolled on, words morphed faster than a bard could tell a tale. Take wretch, for instance, which originally described a poor, unfortunate soul, but soon became a term of endearment for your rowdy mates. It's as if the slang of the time was a living organism adapting and changing like a particularly stubborn weed in a garden of roses. This linguistic evolution wasn't just a party trick, it was a survival mechanism. In a world where you could lose your head for speaking your mind, the ability to code your message was essential. In conclusion, slang in the Middle Ages was the language of the underdog, the misfit, and the rebellious spirit. It was a way to subvert authority while sharing a laugh over a pint of mead. As these terms evolved, they not only created bonds among the common folk, but also laid the groundwork for the rich tapestry of modern slang we enjoy today. So next time you throw around a slang term, remember it's not just a casual expression. It's a nod to the rascals of history who dared to speak their minds and have a little fun while doing it. The 1960s, peace, love, and a whole lot of slang. The 1960s were a wild ride, a kaleidoscope of color and sound where peace and love collided with a lexicon that would rival any Shakespearean play if Shakespeare had lived in a commune. The decade kicked off with the rise of youth culture, and with it came a treasure trove of slang that would leave parents scratching their heads and teachers clutching their pearls. Words like groovy and far out became the linguistic equivalent of tie-dye shirts, vibrant, a bit confusing, and utterly unexplainable to anyone over 30. It was as if the English language took a hit of something psychedelic and decided to dance around a room with a bunch of flower children. That would be me. In the realm of historical evolution, the 1960s saw slang morph faster than a chameleon at a paint party. Terms often emerged from movies, music, and the counterculture movement, reflecting a society that was both rebellious and creative. Dig it became a popular way to say, I understand, while hippie entered the lexicon as a term for those who preferred flowers over suits and peace signs over stock portfolios. I think hippie meant, I forget what it stands for, but yuppie was young urban professional. Yup, yuppie. Let me look up what hippie stood for. I can just Google it while I'm on, can't I? Hippie, especially in the 1960s, a person of unconventional appearance, typically having long hair associated with a subculture movement involving a rejection of conventional values and the taking of hallucinogenic drugs. Hippies and spiritual seekers made their way to India in the 60s in search of enlightenment, kind of led by the Beatles, more or less. There is no acronym for the word hippie, but HIPPY may refer to the Home Interaction Program for Parents and Youngsters. Definition of hippie: a hippie is a person who rejects the mainstream culture and advocates for peace, love, and personal freedom. Hippies often dress unconventionally and favor communal living. They may also be called flower children. Hippie ideology: hippies opposed political and social orthodoxy and favored a nonviolent ethic. Their ideology was expressed in the Beatles song, All You Need Is Love. Hippie origins: the hippie movement emerged in the 1960s as a counterculture to the beatniks. Hippies were younger than the beatniks and preferred to call themselves freaks or love children. The word hippie came from hipster and was used to describe beatniks who moved into New York City's Greenwich Village, San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district, and Chicago's Old Town communities. Evaluating the effectiveness of the Home Interaction Program for Parents and Youngsters. There it is again. So that's what hippie stands for? I guess so. What is hippie slang for? A usually young person who rejects the mores of established society as by dressing unconventionally or favoring communal living and advocates a nonviolent ethic. Broadly, a long-haired, unconventionally dressed young person. So, with the exception of the fact that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wore a suit and tie, he was all about nonviolent protest. So I guess he could be considered a well-dressed hippie. So how about that? Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. I understand while hippie entered the lexicon as a term for those who preferred flowers over suits and peace signs over stock portfolios, dig it became a popular way to say I understand. So I hear a lot of people saying you dig, and I just kind of abhor that. I don't know why. I mean, the main thing is I just don't like the people who say it, but whatever. So anyway, the language of the time was a reflection of the era's ethos, a playful rebellion against the stuffy norms of the previous decade. It was a slang that could make even the most mundane conversations feel like a scene from a beat poetry reading, complete with finger snaps. But let's not overlook the gender differences that emerged in the colorful cocktail of 1960s slang. Men and women often had different ways of expressing themselves, leading to a delightful mismatch of terms that could confuse even the most seasoned linguist. While a guy might describe something as heavy, a woman might declare it bitchin'. I've never really heard women refer to things as bitchin'. I used to have a friend, she was a baker and had a bitchin' kitchen, she did. The guys were all about depth, while the gals, the girls, I hate that word, gals. The guys were all about depth, while the women were clearly the queens of flair. This divergence not only delighted the cultural shifts, but also emphasized the playful competitiveness of the genders, each trying to outslang the other in a fun, albeit confusing, verbal dance-off. As the decade progressed, the slang took on a life of its own, much like the hairstyles of the time. The phrase, "you're a real square," became a badge of honor for the nonconformists, while "sock it to me" made its way into everyday vernacular, leaving many wonder if they had accidentally stumbled into a boxing match instead of a conversation. And of course, that makes me think of the hit TV show Laugh-In, where they also talked about "you bet your bippy," and it was just kind of I remember watching it. I think it was like 1969. I mean, it was entertaining, but it was just kind of square, frankly, comparatively speaking. The language of the 60s was a testament to a generation that was not afraid to express themselves, even when it meant inventing entirely new words or repurposing old ones. It was creative, chaotic, and utterly fantastic, like trying to follow a plot in a David Lynch film while on a sugar high. And that brings me back to me defining myself as being the sign of vertigo, whatever that means. In the end, the 1960s were more than just a decade. They were a linguistic revolution. Slang from that time not only encapsulated the spirit of peace and love, but also paved the way for future generations to embrace their own unique ways of speaking. The legacy of terms like far out and groovy continues to echo through time, reminding us that language is as fluid as the music that defined the era. So next time someone drops a 60s slang term into conversation, just smile and remember, they're not just talking, they're channeling a decade of peace, love, and a whole lot of colorful chaos. The internet age, when LOL became a language. In the grand tapestry of human communication, the internet age has woven a peculiar thread, the emergence of LOL as an actual language. Once upon a time, people communicated in full sentences, expressing their thoughts with clarity and depth. But as technology advanced, so did our desire for brevity. Time is money. Enter LOL, a simple yet revolutionary acronym that transformed the way we express laughter. It's as if the digital world collectively agreed that typing out, "I find that amusing," was far too cumbersome when you could simply slap down 3 little letters and call it a day. I mean, I don't say LOL in conversation, in live conversation. As with any language, LOL has evolved, taking on meanings far beyond its original intent. What began as a simple expression of mirth has morphed into a multi-purpose tool in the online lexicon. Need to lighten the mood? LOL. Want to soften a critique? LOL. Feeling awkward? You guessed it, LOL. This linguistic chameleon has become so versatile that one might argue it deserves its own entry in the Oxford English Dictionary, or at least a spot on a hipster's list of words I use to sound trendy. Who knew a sound of laughter could become the Swiss Army knife of digital communication? Gender plays a curious role in the adoption and adaptation of LOL, while both men and women have embraced this delightful abbreviation. Makes me think of the acronym ROTF, rolling on the floor, laughing my effing ass off. Gender plays a curious role in the adoption and adaptation of LOL. While both men and women have embraced this delightful abbreviation, studies suggest that women are more likely to use it as a social lubricant. For them, LOL is less about the actual laughter and more about fostering connection. Men, on the other hand, might use it more sparingly, often reserving it for moments when they actually find something funny, or when they want to appear relatable while secretly trying to maintain their mysterious, brooding persona. It's a linguistic dance that highlights how gender influences our digital interactions, all while we collectively loll at the absurdity of it all. All while we collectively LOL at the absurdity of it all. That being said, I have to defend mothers, women, a bit, and that is, women, by virtue of the fact that they have a womb, see their children, especially their best children, their most beautiful and their brightest children, as their highest achievement, their greatest accomplishment. And I would too if I was a woman. That being said, that nurturing nature of a woman to inspire their children to engage in conversation with them is how they learn their children's personality and help to direct its development. And that they see that certainly as kind of their job. And we see that as kind of their job, frankly. So, yay, women. Now, let's not forget the offshoots of LOL. The internet, in its infinite wisdom, has gifted us a plethora of variants. And here we are, ROFL, LMAO, and the ever controversial LMFAO. Each variation carries its own weight and context, much like how a fine wine can vary from a robust Cabernet Sauvignon to a cheeky rosé. Some might even argue that these acronyms reflect the emotional intensity of the laughter being conveyed. After all, if LOL is a polite chuckle, ROFL is a full-on belly laugh that might just require a change of pants. This evolution shows how language morphs to fit the needs of its users, resulting in a vibrant, if slightly chaotic, digital dialect. In the end, the rise of LOL as a language in its own right is a testament to human creativity and adaptability. We've taken a simple expression and spun it into a cultural phenomenon that descends generations and geographical boundaries. As we continue to navigate this wild world of online communication, one can't help but wonder what other acronyms will take flight in the future. Perhaps one day we'll find ourselves in deep philosophical debates about the true meaning of BRB and TTYL. Until then, let's raise our virtual glasses and toast to LOL, a language that proves laughter, even when abbreviated, is truly universal. And that's the end of chapter 3. We've taken a simple expression and spun it into a cultural phenomenon that transcends generations and geographical boundaries. Yes. That gave rise to me wanting to do some research on international Gen Z slang. If we have Gen Z slang in the United States of America and in Britain, England, and Australia, and other English-speaking countries, of course there's going to be Gen Z slang in every language all over the world, in every country all over the world. So gradually I'm endeavoring to, use the assistance of ChatGPT and others to find out the top 10, top 20 slang phrases used in Indonesia and Bangladesh and India and France and Spain and Mexico and Canada and all over the place. So I've got a whole bunch of videos, probably 20 or 30 or 40 online already that I did last summer. And now that's what's given rise to me embracing this as my first digital book written with the assistance of ChatGPT, actually with Word Genie, which I access through designer.io, DESIGNRR.io. So check that out and look for Word Genie. I think Word Genie, you can subscribe to it separately, and I haven't really used Designer. I'm just reading from the prompts that I input into Word Genie and had it give me this script. Chapter 4 is next. Slang through the ages, a historical perspective. Chapter 4, gendered slang differences. The Boys Club. Slang that men use and sometimes misuse. The world of slang is like a secret club where the members have their own lingo. And for the most part, it's a boys' club. You know the type, a group of guys huddled together throwing around terms that sound like they were created in a lab for maximum confusion. It's a linguistic playground where the words are as slippery as a banana peel. And if you're not careful, you might find yourself nodding along to a conversation that sounds more like a foreign language than English. Whether it's lit, salty, or the ever mysterious flex,
Guys have a knack for taking perfectly good words and turning them into something that requires a decoder ring to understand. Remember those? I think decoder rings came in Cracker Jacks, I do believe. Anyway, let's dive into the funny world of male slang, where the meanings of words can shift faster than a sports car on a racetrack. Take sick, for example. In the world of teenage boys, if something is sick, it's not a matter of health, it's a compliment. Meanwhile, if an older gentleman uses the same term, he might just be expressing genuine concern for your well-being. It's like they're speaking two different dialects of the same language. And don't get us started on dope. One minute, it's a prized possession of the coolest kid in school, and the next, it's a nostalgic throwback to the days of yore when it actually described something entirely different. And really, modern slang needs to go past Gen Z and into Gen Alpha. Blobbity, blobbity. Skibbity. Then there's the art of misusing slang, which is practically an Olympic sport in itself. Picture this, a well-meaning dad trying to connect with his teenage son, dropping terms like fire to describe the latest video game. But instead of applause, he gets a face palm and an eye roll that could launch a spacecraft. The gap between generations is a chasm, and sometimes the bridge is made of all the words that have lost their meaning along the way. It's a classic case of dad trying too hard, which can lead to a whole new set of slang. Cringe, lit, and no cap, all of which might leave him wondering if he just ordered a pizza or joined a gang. And part of what makes slang so fun is misusing it. And that's how slang gets started in a lot of ways, is using words in ways that they weren't necessarily designed for, just for fun. I mean, slang is just people having fun. And let's not forget the gender differences in slang. For some reason, men have developed a language that often revolves around food, sports, and questionable life choices, while women seem to have a whole different vocabulary related to feelings, relationships, and, well, more feelings. And not really all that sound life choices. I mean, women make questionable life choices as well, especially in their choice of men, and women get plenty drunk. Women have more and more male spirit. But anyway, more on that later. It's like guys are running around in their own mini universe where bro and dude are the official greetings, while women are crafting sentences filled with emotional depth and a sprinkle of sarcasm. If you were to listen in on a conversation between the two, you might think they're discussing two entirely different topics. And in a way, they probably are. In the end, the boys' club of slang is a wild and wonderful world where words are tossed around like confetti, creating a colorful tapestry of communication that's often as baffling as it is entertaining. Men may be the kings of their slang castle, but every now and then an outsider stumbles in, raising eyebrows and shaking heads. So whether you're an aficionado of the latest male slang or just a curious observer trying to navigate the minefield of modern language, remember that the boys' club is as much about bonding over shared confusion as it is about the words themselves. The real secret? Just smile, nod, and hope for the best. Next section, ladies' lingo, the secret language of women. The elusive ladies' lingo, a secret language so cryptic that even Google Translate throws up its virtual hands in defeat. For centuries, women have developed a rich tapestry of slang that could make even the most seasoned cryptographer sweat. From the days of flapper dresses and jazz to the age of social media influencers, women have always had a knack for creating terms that are as colorful as a peacock strutting its stuff. Who knew that spill the tea didn't involve actual tea, but was more about the juicy gossip that could make even the most stoic of grandmothers clutch their pearls? Take the word basic, for instance. It started as a harmless descriptor for someone with a wardrobe full of Ugg boots and pumpkin spice lattes. However, it has evolved into a full-blown cultural critique. If you hear a woman saying she's so basic, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're not just talking about someone's choice of footwear. No, they're calling out an entire lifestyle choice that's as predictable as a rom-com plot twist. The beauty of this term is how it effortlessly slices through the small talk and gets straight to the heart of the matter, like a hot knife through butter, or perhaps more accurately, like a well-aimed eye roll at a brunch table. Now, let's not overlook the phenomenon of girl code, a slang term that transcends generations and serves as the ultimate unspoken agreement among women. It's like a secret handshake, but instead of a physical gesture, it's a collection of rules that dictate everything from which boyfriends are off limits to the appropriate response when someone asks, "Do I look good in this?" If a woman breaks girl code, it's akin to committing treason. The rest of the squad will swiftly provide a collective gasp, followed by a series of side-eye glances that could scale Mount Everest in intensity. It's a language that, when spoken, resonates with a universal understanding, making it clear that women are as much a sisterhood as they are individuals. When you delve into the historical evolution of women's slang, you find a delightful mix of rebellion and resourcefulness. Women have used slang not just to communicate, but as a means of empowerment. Terms like badass and boss babe have emerged from the underground, showcasing a shift in how women see themselves and wish to be seen. These terms are not just a way to describe a fierce attitude, they're battle cries in a world that has often tried to box women into tidy little categories. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to be a badass while sipping their green tea and discussing the latest Netflix documentary? As we wrap up this exploration of ladies' lingo, it's clear that this secret language is anything but mundane. It's a vibrant, ever-evolving lexicon that reflects the changing tides of society, culture, and of course the whims of women. So next time you hear a group of women chattering away, don't just eavesdrop, embrace the chaos and humor of their slang. Because in the end, whether it's about serving looks, spilling tea, or breaking girl code, ladies' lingo is here to stay, and it's packed with enough sass to keep anyone on their toes. Section 3. When slang gets sassy. Gender and the art of insulting. In the colorful world of slang, insults have always held a special place, particularly when they come wrapped in a gendered bow. Picture this, a group of friends bantering back and forth, each trying to outdo the other with the most cleverly crafted put-down. While anyone can hurl a generic insult, the truly artful practitioners of this craft know that the secret ingredient often lies in the gendered nuances of slang. Men might throw around words like knucklehead with a chuckle, while women might prefer a more elegant jab like silly goose. It's as if we're all participating in an unspoken competition to see who can be the sassiest while still maintaining some semblance of decorum. All that sounds rather archaic to me. Knucklehead and silly goose sounds like 1940s slang, maybe 1950s, maybe, but probably earlier than that, actually. So whatever, I guess we're examining the history of slang, so that's fair. Paragraph 2. Historically, the art of insulting has evolved in tandem with societal norms, especially regarding gender roles. In earlier centuries, women were often relegated to a quieter role, but oh, how the tables have turned. With the rise of the feminist movement, women became empowered to unleash a whole new arsenal of witty barbs. No longer confined to polite, genteel jibes, women embraced a more flamboyant style of repartee. The term mean girl didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was a culmination of centuries of pent-up sass waiting to be unleashed upon the unsuspecting. Meanwhile, men in their traditional bravado often resorted to the classic man-up insults, oblivious to the fact that their attempts at masculinity could be just as hilarious when they backfire. As the years rolled on, the lexicon of insults tailored for each gender began to take on a life of its own. The gender differences in slang are not only amusing, but also reveal much about social expectations. For instance, a man who calls another man a wimp is merely tapping into the age-old tradition of toughening each other up. Conversely, a woman might call her friend a hot mess with a wink, both acknowledging the chaos and celebrating the camaraderie. These insults reveal more than just the cleverness of the speaker. They also reflect the intricate dance of gender dynamics in our everyday lives. That said, let's not forget the delightful absurdity that comes from crossing these gender lines. Imagine a man trying to deliver a cutting remark traditionally reserved for women like "bless your heart," only to discover that it lacks the same punch when uttered in a deep baritone. Conversely, women adopting classic male insults such as "you're such a tool" can pack quite the comedic punch. This delightful role reversal not only highlights the absurdity of gendered language, but also showcases the sheer joy of slang as it evolves in the hands of its users. Final paragraph. In the end, when slang gets sassy, it's all about context, creativity, and a healthy dose of humor. Insulting, while not the most noble of pastimes, serves as a vital social function, providing laughter, bonding, and sometimes even a bit of drama. The next time you find yourself caught in a verbal spar, remember the rich history of gendered slang and how it has shaped our exchanges. Whether you're wielding a sharp quip or a playful jab, remember that the art of insulting is as much about connection as it is about cleverness. So embrace the sass and let your words dance. And that's the end of this section. Next up is Chapter 5, Regional Slang, a Tour of the Weird and Wacky. First section, American slang from coast to coast. And that being said, I really need to get back to international slang. And I will say, again, I prompted AI to generate this script, and it's a little square, I guess, colloquial. I don't like it that well, but it's a writing partner, and it gives me something to work from. So now I can go back through and change this, which is kind of what I'm doing in my commentary after the fact. The only way I could get myself to really read it is to read with a purpose, the purpose being making this video. So this is how I'm reviewing the script that AI generated for me so I can modify it. So look for an actual book coming after these precipitory videos, I guess you could call them. Global slang, stop it. We are looking at Slang Through the Ages, a historical perspective. Chapter 5, Regional Slang, a Tour of the Weird and Wacky. And the three subtitles are American Slang from Coast to Coast, British Slang, The Queen's English Gets a Makeover, and number 3, Global Slang, What Happens When Cultures Collide. This sounds interesting. So, the first one is American Slang from Coast to Coast. American slang is a colorful tapestry woven from the rich threads of regional dialects, cultural influences, and the sheer creativity of its speakers. From the sunny shores of California to the bustling streets of New York, slang evolves faster than a cat meme goes viral. Each coast claims its own quirky expressions, each state for that matter. I mean, it's a very regional thing, very much so, that often leave outsiders scratching their heads in confusion. Ever heard someone say, that's the bee's knees? Not very often. You might think they're talking about a particularly impressive insect, but in actuality, it's just a quirky way of saying something is fantastic. So buckle up as we embark on a hilarious journey through the linguistic landscape of American slang. And actually, the bee's knees comes from the Prohibition era, back in the 1930s, 1920s, 1930s, when the youth of the time were just looking for phrases that made no sense just to be wild and wacky. So each one of these subtitles has 5 paragraphs, 15 paragraphs total for each chapter. So here is paragraph 2. Starting on the West Coast, where surfers and techies reign supreme, you'll encounter phrases that feel like they were plucked from a laid-back dream. Gnarly, once reserved for treacherous waves, has crept into everyday conversation to describe anything from a particularly complicated math problem to a Tuesday that just won't end. Meanwhile, Californians might toss around lit to describe a party that's absolutely buzzing, which is a far cry from its original meaning of being on fire. One can only wonder if the term was coined after a particularly wild bonfire night where someone misjudged the amount of lighter fluid. That's quite possible. Paragraph 3. Traveling westward, we land in the heart of New York City, where the slang is as fast-paced as the subway system. New Yorkers have a unique flair for turning ordinary words into something that packs a punch. Bodega is not just a corner store, it's the sacred realm of coffee, sandwiches, and a million little treasures you never knew you needed. Here you might hear someone say, I'm dead, not because they've met an untimely end, but because they're utterly exhausted from running the city's gauntlet of life. The contrast between the chill West Coast vibe, where we are currently, and the frenetic energy of the East is a testament to how geography shapes our language and our lives. And I'll also say that here on the West Coast, in order to communicate with the East Coast, which is 3 hours ahead, at 8 a.m., it's 5 a.m. And so typically we wake up at 5 a.m. for that purpose, which means if we're communicating with the West Coast, then an 8-hour day ends at 2 p.m., which is handy. So that's kind of cool. Paragraph 4, gendered slang differences add another layer of hilarity to the mix. While bro may be the go-to term for a male friend on one coast, You'll find the ladies flipping the script with girl boss to celebrate their empowered selves. It's a classic case of same game, different players. You might hear a guy saying, "That's so sus," when he's skeptical about a friend's choice of snack, while a girl might describe a particularly dramatic hair flip as serving looks. These playful distinctions serve as a reminder that language is not just a tool for communication, it's also a playground where identities are expressed and stereotypes are hilariously upended. Now, I've also heard girls referring to each other as bro, and I've heard guys referring to their girlfriends as bro or calling them bro, this and that. Bro, did you really think that was going to happen? When a guy is talking to a girl, he calls her bro, whatever, just to keep it uniform, I guess. Paragraph 5. As we traverse the American landscape, it's clear that slang is a living, breathing entity that reflects the quirks of its speakers. Whether you're chilling in a California beach town or navigating the concrete jungle of New York, the slang you encounter is a snapshot of culture, humor, and social dynamics. So next time you hear someone say, "That's a vibe," just know that it's not only a way to describe a mood, but also a reminder that no matter where you are in this vast country, everyone is just trying to find their groove in a world full of colorful expressions. British slang. The Queen's English gets a makeover. Paragraph 1. British slang has taken the Queen's English and given it a cheeky makeover, transforming the language of the monarchy into something that can make even a stiff upper lip quiver with laughter. Picture this. The once dignified corridors of Buckingham Palace echoing with terms like gobsmacked and chuffed to bits. It's as if the language had a wild night out, danced on the tables at the local pub, and woke up with a hangover and a new set of colorful expressions. The transformation is not just entertaining, it reflects a cultural evolution that's as rich and varied as the British countryside. Paragraph 2 or 7. Let's dive into this colorful lexicon, shall we? Words like bloke and bird have become staples in the British vernacular, but not without a bit of controversy. Controversy, as the Brits would say. While bloke is a charming term for a man, bird has fluttered into contention, often seen as a diminutive way to refer to women. It's almost like the language is playing a game of hopscotch, jumping from one meaning to another, often leaving us wondering if we've landed in the right square. The way slang evolves can be both hilarious and perplexing, like trying to follow a plot twist in a British soap opera. Paragraph 3 or 8. The historical evolution of slang terms in Britain showcases the creativity and inventiveness of its speakers. From Cockney rhyming slang, where trouble and strife means wife, to the modern day use of terms like lit or fam, it's clear that the British have mastered the art of linguistic playfulness. It's as if they got together for a grand tea party, armed with cups of Earl Grey and a desire to spice up the conversation. The result, a delightful mismatch of phrases that could leave even the most seasoned linguist scratching their head in delightful confusion. Paragraph 9. Gendered slang differences add another layer to this linguistic romp. While lad and lass might appear harmless, the implications behind these terms can be as tangled as a pair of earphones after a long trip in your pocket. Men might be lads boasting about their escapades in a jovial manner, while women are often cast in a different light, with terms that can range from empowering to patronizing. It's like watching a comedy duo where the punchlines vary based on who's delivering them, reminding us that the evolution of slang is not just a matter of words, it's a reflection of societal norms and attitudes. Paragraph 10. In the end, British slang is a reminder that language is a living, breathing entity constantly adapting to the whims of culture, humor, and social dynamics. Whether one's knackered after a long day or having a laugh, these expressions serve as a bridge connecting people through shared experiences and chuckles. So the next time you hear someone drop a casual "bloody hell" or "taking the mickey," remember that behind those words lies a rich tapestry of history and humor, proving that even the Queen's English can let its hair down from time to time. Global slang. What happens when cultures collide? Stop it. Global slang is like that unexpected party crasher who shows up at the door with mismatched socks and a questionable sense of humor. When cultures collide, slang gets tossed into a blender, and the result is a frothy concoction of words that can make you laugh, scratch your head, or maybe even cringe. Take, for instance, the delightful confusion that arises when an American says they're bummed out, while an Australian thinks they're talking about a leisurely day at the beach. The beauty of global slang lies in its ability to create a universal language of laughter, if you understand the punchline, that is. And chapter 12, as cultures intermingle and influence one another, slang terms evolve faster than you can say cultural exchange. Imagine the scene. A group of teenagers in Tokyo adopting the latest slang from hip-hop artists in New York while simultaneously peppering it with their own local flair. The result, a beautiful mess of words that can leave the uninitiated wondering if they've actually stepped into a sci-fi movie. Just when you think you've nailed down what lit means, someone throws in fire, and before you know it, you're not just confused, you're completely lost in translation. Next paragraph, 13. Gendered slang differences add another layer of hilarity to this global wordplay. Picture a conversation between two friends, one using the word badass to describe a formidable woman, while the other is still stuck in the girl power era with spunky. The clash of terms can lead to some pretty ridiculous misunderstandings. Who knew that being sassy in one culture could translate to rude in another? It's like a game of telephone where the message gets warped into something that would make your grandmother blush, if she could decipher it at all. Paragraph 14. The historical evolution of these terms is equally amusing. Slang has always been a bit of a rebel, shunning the formalities of language like a teenager rebelling against a curfew. Once upon a time, cool simply referred to temperature, but through the ages, it morphed into a term that can describe everything from fashion to someone's personality. Who would have thought that a word so innocuous could become the Swiss Army knife of slang? Well, it's a lot better than some other words I've heard used to become the Swiss Army knife of language. One starts with F, and it's not fire truck. As cultures collide, these words take on lives of their own, sometimes becoming unrecognizable in the process, much like that cold pizza you left in the fridge. What was once a glorious meal is now a mystery. Paragraph 15. In this whirlwind of global slang, we find ourselves in a linguistic carnival where every turn brings a new surprise. So the next time you hear someone drop a term that sounds like it's been pulled from a pop culture time capsule, remember that you're witnessing the marvelous dance of cultures, and maybe even a few missteps along the way. As we continue to navigate this chaotic yet joyous world of slang, let's embrace the laughter, the confusion, and the delightful absurdity that comes with it. After all, nothing brings people together quite like a shared chuckle over the meaning of salty in different corners of the globe. And I'll also say, everything comes back in fashion. And especially with Renaissance fairs, the Renaissance fair attendees dress for the period and they use period language, revitalizing those old slang words. The slang word huzzah comes to mind. I don't think that's quite Renaissance period, but rather colonial period, 1600s. People were saying things like huzzah to mean cool or yay or huzzah. It was an exclamation of excitement. Chapter 6 is next. See you there.